Hi and welcome to another episode of Corpsewater Unfiltered. In this episode, I will be teaching you yet another innovative way to get rid of money that you don't have. Bit of a side note, whenever I started filming these vlogs, it was the middle of summer and the natural light from the window was perfect. Now it's the middle of winter. I live in Northern Ireland, so the evenings are really dull. I don't know how to actually light videos, so I had to put the big light on, and these may in fact look shit. Now that I had the studio musicians sorted, there were a few other things that I still needed to overcomplicate. I decided that once the guitars were recorded, I was going to get them reamped, because the internet told me to. And despite the studio musician that I had chosen to work with said that he could work out the stuff by ear, he did say that it would actually be really advantageous if he did have tabs. I found a guy on, well, Fiverr. In fact, just assume I've used Fiverr whenever I'm getting something done unless I say otherwise. He said that he would reamp the guitars for £15 a track. Another thing ticked off the list. I can't remember the name of the amps. I think he had a PV and some other one that I hadn't heard of, but whenever I googled it, the internet said that it was great for death metal, so I just thought. The next thing was getting the tabs done. I thought initially that I would just handwrite them and scan them or something like that, or maybe try to do them on Microsoft Word or something totally backwards. And because my stuff was quite simple and there wasn't much in them, I thought that won't actually take very long. I was wrong. Tabbing things out is an absolute nightmare, and after 20 minutes I was going to pull the eyeballs out of my head and immediately decided that me doing the tabs wasn't an option. I downloaded about 25,000 AI apps, all of which claimed that they could do tabs from the music, which absolutely none of them could. In fact, some of them were so far off that the riffs were actually better than some of mine. They were probably someone else's, to be fair, but nonetheless I was tempted to use them. But yeah, so that wasn't an option either. I did try to use Guitar Pro off a friend's recommendation. He did say it was a wee bit laborious, and the minute that I went to register, it asked me for money, and I don't invest money in things unless there's a pretty high chance of them not working, so that wasn't an option either. So you can imagine where I went, and I did come across a guy who would transcribe stuff for about, I think it was £30 a track, and I just thought, not a chance, especially not when there's a guy under him who would do a track for £9. What could possibly go wrong? It turns out there was a reason he was £9 a song, and that reason was the fact that his ears were in fact painted on, and the tablature he sent back wasn't even remotely close to my song. In fact, when I tried to play it, I couldn't. Bet you use one of those apps. As I was navigating all this nonsense, I was doing something very out of character and moaning to my friend Adrian about the difficulties in trying to find musicians and all that stuff and get this stuff tabbed out. Adrian's a very gifted guitar player, understands music theory, all that stuff, and he offered his services and said that he would play the guitar on the album. Problem sorted. Lesson learned, you still get what you pay for. I'll maybe run the experiment a few more times, but I'm starting to think that you actually do get what you pay for. Anyway, thanks again for watching, and if you wish to pick up a copy of the album, there's a link in the description as always, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.